The Steducentre, Grade 9, 2014, A&A Exam Review, Maths. Part 4. Decrease 240 kgs by 15%. To find a percentage of an amount, change the percentage into a fraction and then multiply them. The question is, what is 25% of 200? Change the percentage into a fraction, which becomes 25 over 100. Multiply the fraction and the amount. 25 over 100 times 200 is equal to 50. To multiply an amount by a fraction, divide it by the denominator, the bottom part of the fraction, and multiply it by the numerator, the top part of the calculation. So question 8.1, 240 minus in brackets 15% of 240 is equal to 240 minus in brackets 15 over 100 times 240, which is equal to 240 minus 36, and your final answer is 204 kgs. Question 8.2. In Tabi's car uses 1 liter of fuel to travel 12 kilometers. How much fuel will be needed to travel 420 kilometers? 1 liter for 12 kilometers. Therefore, 420 kilometers divided by 12 kilometers per liter is equal to 35 liters that will be required. You could also use the ratio method. Here's an example. A to the ratio A is to 15, which is equal to 2 is to 5. You find the value of A. Write the ratios out vertically and then cross multiply. So 2 times 15 is equal to 5 times A. 30 is equal to 5A. If you divide by 5, you should get to A is equal to 6. In our example, 1 is to 12. So x is equal to 420. If you cross multiply, you end up with 12x is equal to 420. X is equal to 420 divided by 12, so x is equal to 35. Question 8.3. There are 44 boys and girls in Mary's class. The ratio of the number of boys to the number of girls is 5:6. How many boys are there in Mary's class? A ratio is a relationship in which for every x units of one quantity, there are y units of another quantity. The terms of a ratio are the quantities of x and y. Equivalent ratios, ratios that express the same relationship. So there are 44 students. The boys to girls ratio is 5:6. 44 divided by 11 is equal to 4. 4 times 6 is equal to 24 girls, and 4 times 5 is equal to 20 boys. Question 8.4. Study the table below. The length of a side of a square in centimeters is 2, 3, 4. The area of the square in centimeters squared is 4, 9, 16. Is this an example of a direct or an indirect proportion? Give a reason for your answer. Direct proportion is when two quantities are directly proportional. If an increase in one quantity corresponds to a constant increase in another quantity, or if a decrease in one quantity corresponds to a consistent decrease in another quantity. Whereas indirect proportion, if you look at the graph and a key point, two quantities which are indirectly proportional always make a curved graph. The answer for 8.4 is neither, and your reason is the area is not a constant. X length and area x length is not a constant. Question 8.5. Calculate how long it will take for an investment of 4,000 at 3% per annum simple interest to earn an interest of 840 Rand. The simple interest formula is interest is equal to principal times rate times time. That is, I is equal to P times R times T. Interest for 1 year is 120 Rand. The total of interest you're trying to calculate is 840 Rand. 840 divided by 120 will actually give you the number of years, which is 7. If you're using the formula, 840 is equal to 4,000 times 3% times x. 840 is equal to 120 times x. 840 divided by 120 is equal to the 7 years. If you draw it up in the form of a table, your opening balance is 4,000 Rand. Your interest at 3% is 120. Your closing balance at the end of year 1 will be 4,120. If you continue with this, with the interest at 120 per year, by the time you get to year 7, you will see that the final amount for interest adds up to the 840. Question 8.6. Calculate the final amount that I will have in my savings account if I invest 600 Rand for 2 years at a rate of 6% per annum compound interest. The compound interest formula is A is equal to P, brackets 1 plus R over N, close brackets NT, where A is the amount at the end, and P is the principal amount at the start, and R is the annual interest rate as a decimal, and N is the number of times per year that the interest is compounded, and T is the time in years. So A is equal to 600, parentheses, 1 plus 0.06 divided by 1, close parentheses, and 1 times 2. If you continue with the calculation, A is equal to 600, parentheses, 1 plus 0.06 divided by 1, close parentheses, to the power 2. A is equal to 600, in parentheses, 1.06, close parentheses, to the power 2. A is equal to 600, open parentheses, 1.1236, close parentheses. A is equal to 674.16. You could also do it in the form of a table with an opening balance in year 1 of 600, interest at 6% at 36 Rand. Your closing balance will be 636 Rand. In year 2, your opening balance is 636 with interest of 38.16, and your closing balance will be 674 Rands 14 cents. Question 9.1. Complete each of the following statements. 9.1.1. Angle D and angle F are complementary angles if. 9.1.2. The sum of the interior angles of a triangle is equal to. 9.1.3. The sum of the exterior angles of a polygon is equal to. 9.1.4. A trapezium is a quadrilateral with one pair of what sides? 9.1.5. The diagonals of a rectangle are in length? We need to know our properties of our 2D shapes. For example, when I look at an equilateral triangle, it means that all sides are exactly the same and the angles are all equal to 60 degrees. If you are looking at an isosceles triangle, it means that 2 sides are the same and that the 2 angles are then the same as well. And if you are looking at a scalene triangle, all of them add up to 180 degrees, and each side will be a different length. If I look at my types of quadrilaterals, for example, my parallelogram, my rhombus, my rectangle, my square, my trapezium, or my kite, they also have properties. For example, a rectangle and a square all have angles equal to 90 degrees, and a square has got 4 sides that are exactly the same size. And congruent is equal to identical. It means that they are the same. There are many kinds of triangles, but what they all have in common is that the sum of every triangle is equal to 180 degrees. The triangles' names are based on their sides. If all 3 lengths are different sizes, they are called a scalene. If the length of 2 sides are equal, it is called an isosceles. If the length of all sides are equal, it is called an equilateral triangle. If you look at triangles based on their angles, if each angle is less than 90 degrees, it is called an acute triangle. If one angle is 90 degrees, it's called a right-angled triangle. And if one side is greater than 90 degrees, it is called an obtuse triangle. It's important to know our regular polygons. A polygon is a shape with many sides. 3 sides is a triangle. 4 sides is a quadrilateral. 5 sides is a pentagon. 6 sides is a hexagon. 7 sides is a heptagon. 8 sides is an octagon. 9 sides is a nonagon. And 10 sides is a decagon. We need to know our lines and angles. If we look at lines, you could have a horizontal line that goes straight across, a vertical line that goes up, 2 lines that go in the same direction but never cross are called parallel lines, and lines that cross at an intersection that creates a 90-degree angle are called perpendicular lines. And the middle point where they meet is called the point of intersection. You can have different types of angles. For example, a complementary angle. That's angles that add up to 90 degrees. Or you could have supplementary angles, which are angles that add up to 180 degrees. Take note of the examples. 9.1.1. The angle D and the angle F are complementary angles if the sum is equal to 90 degrees. 9.1.2. The sum of the interior angles of a triangle is equal to 180 degrees. 9.1.3. The sum of the exterior angles of any polygon is equal to 360 degrees. 9.1.4. A trapezium is a quadrilateral with one pair of parallel sides. 9.1.5. The diagonals of a rectangle are equal in length. Question 9.2. In the figure above, AB is parallel to TC. C1 is equal to 65 and C2 is equal to 43 degrees. Calculate the size of angle A, angle B1 and angle B2, giving reasons and statements. There's a few important things you need to remember. A triangle will always add up to 180 degrees. A is equal to 43 degrees. It's alternative angle of the parallel lines. You can see that by the purple circle. B1 is equal to 65. It's corresponding angles of your parallel lines. You can see that by the bluish lines. B2 is equal to 180 degrees minus 65, which is equal to 115 degrees, because you are looking at a straight line, which always equals to 180 degrees. B3 is equal to 180 degrees minus 65 minus 43, which is equal to 72 degrees. Your straight line is equal to 180 degrees, and the sum of a triangle always adds up to 180 degrees. A is equal to 43 degrees, alternative angles of a parallel line. B1 is equal to 65 degrees, corresponding angles of a parallel line. B2 is equal to 180 degrees minus 65, which is equal to 115. Your straight line, which is equal to 180 degrees. In triangle ABC, AB is equal to AC and angle C is equal to x to the power 0. Determine the size of A in terms of x. So A is equal to 180 degrees minus x plus x. AB and AC are parallel, therefore B is equal to C. A is equal to 180 degrees minus 2x because the sum of a triangle is equal to 180 degrees. Thank you for watching the Steducentre, turning ordinary learners into extraordinary leaders.